doings. In the cold of the night, he protect us all in the mold of the fight. And that's way before I even tried to roll the dice. Jesus stood by my side like a virtuous wife. This man left me broke, I couldn't afford to pay the price. He charged it to the Christ. And now I pay attention to the lyrics that I write. I ain't trying to reach the height, I ain't listening to the hype. And I'ma keep the feast and break bread with the righteous. Jesus is the righteous, washed in the blood to take the blood of a bison. We can make it happen, we created in his likeness. We ain't left alone no matter how tough life gets. It can get big, Jesus got it grasped in his hands like a tight fist. These how man's got established. He control it all in his palms like a light switch. This is righteous, this is Christ, this is life. Put your hands in the air for God, come on. Put your hands in the air for God, come on. It doesn't matter what you've been through, it doesn't matter what you've been through, but put your hands in the air for God, come on. Put your hands in the air for God, come on. It doesn't matter what you've been through, it doesn't matter what you've been through, what you've been through. Protocol, we can't fall for the weak. Accept the baptism, pay attention to the priest. Watch us every move, steady they be approved. Be the king of the Jews, bearer of good news. Good news, Jesus Christ, he come with the good food. A man can't live off bread alone. We gotta get it together before the trumpet's blown. I had passion for the truth, but read the scriptures wrong. And it was told to the children of the seeds grown. We got zeal for the Father, but it's in the wrong way. Had this crime in these streets turned into a court case. About face, this is about faith. This is about patience, we gotta all wait. And yes, we do it to the end, we gotta outdate. And stay girded in the word to avoid Satan. This is known to deceive and destroy nations. This ain't complicated issue, this is all basic. Jews like the Jews that we gotta all face it. We stand addicted to the sins like we all atheists. Just try to make amends with the times waste. Put your hands in the air for God, come on. Put your hands in the air for God, come on. It doesn't matter what you've been through, it doesn't matter what you've been through, but put your hands in the air for God, come on. Put your hands in the air for God,
welcome to Sidestreets And Intersections here on IntellectualRadio.com. I am your host, Angela Champ, and unfortunately, my sidekick, Miss Erica Evelyn, is not in the house, in the building today. We were celebrating our first annual event for Sidestreets and Intersections networking party on Friday, and I guess she had a little bit too much fun, so she's not here today. She's recovering a little bit. And before we get to the subject matter at hand with my special guest, Miss Tamikia Collier-Watson, as well as her daughter, Kinessa. See, I got that right, didn't I? All right. The subject matter is giving beyond measure. But before we do that, I just want to take a moment to a moment of silence for no other than Mr. Herb Kent, Mr. Personality. You're talking about 80 years, 88 years, and 70 years in radio, precedent setting. Phenomenal. You will most definitely be missed, and thank you for laying the groundwork for others to follow. It's hard one to follow, but hopefully I can do my part in making radio what it is and what it should be. So getting back to my special guest, Ms. Tamikia Collier-Watson, as well as her second eldest daughter, Kinessa. I like that name. Welcome to Side Streets and Intersections here at IntellectualRadio.com. And once again, we are an iHeart radio station, so we are heard throughout the country. Also, I just want to remind you that on Friday, I want to thank everyone that came out to support my first event at Durbin's Bar and Grill, located in Summit, Illinois. We shut it down. It was a full house, and it was full of very interesting people. And there were a lot of powerful people in the house. And even I have to just send a shout out and a thank you to the producer of Intellectual Radio, Mr. Earl Winfrey, the other Winfrey. He actually made a cameo appearance. So I feel special privilege that he came out to support my venue. Also, on next week, if you have not purchased your ticket, and I hope that there's still time, Divas Inc. will be hosting their 5th annual Pretty in Pink Affair, which raises awareness to survivors of breast cancer and many other types of cancer. So you want to support that. As a matter of fact, I will be one of the featured talents Spoken word will be in the house, another part of who I am. So now that we've gotten all that out the way, oh, and thank you to Mr. Frankio Tapio, manager at Durban's Bar and Grill. Thank you for using allowing us to use the facilities. And the feedback was phenomenal. He said that he had an awesome time, and so he welcomed us again to host other events there. So now that we gotten all that out the way, I was following you on Facebook earlier this week, and I noticed that the subject matter came up with respect to some haters.
Yeah. Yes.
And so the question came up. Now listen to this. Sidestreets and Intersections, iHeart radio listeners, as well as my IntellectualRadio.com family. Here's a woman, a classmate of mine, childhood friend, childhood rival, we all that. But at this point, she's a servant of the Most High.
Yes.
And she's taken upon what God has given her to give back.
Yes.
And it has not come without its adverse responses. People want to know, how are you able to do what you're doing? Because you gave the testimony on last week as to where you came from and the things that you had to endure, whether by the actions of others or the actions by the decision that you made. And people want to know, how are you able to bless other people, because you shouldn't be able to do that. And you have to laugh.
Yeah.
So I just want you to expound, and then Kinessa, just feel free to chime in. Feel at home, no pressure. And let's get on down to this.
Okay. Well, first, I want to give honor to God, who is the head of my life. Thank Him for another day and another chance in life. And I say another chance because it's not a second chance. It's another chance because each day I feel that God touched me and graced me to wake up in the morning. He's giving me another chance to do what it is that He have me to do. And I'm going to read a scripture, 2 Timothy 1:9. It said, "It is He who saved us and chose us for His holy work, not because we deserved it, but because that was His plan." So this is His plan.
Absolutely.
So anything that lines up in the will of God, it's going to work out.
And you know what, I have to say amen and amen to that, because it's interesting that, a lot of times we don't understand. We go out in life and we begin to pursue endeavors or things that we think that we want to do. We don't understand that it really isn't us doing anything.
That's right.
We are just used as a liaison and or vessel.
Yes.
To facilitate the things that He wants to have done.
Yes.
And so I think that it's a phenomenal thing then when you can not fight it, not the will anymore, and do what's supposed to be done. Because ultimately, and I think I said this on last week, that the things that we do are not particularly about us. It's about helping others to be catapulted to the next level.
That's right.
So that when all is said and done, you hear that response and say, "Good and faithful servant."
That's right.
So let's get to these haters. Let's talk about these haters, because I think that we out here and you're giving beyond measure. You don't sit up and keep a tab on what you're giving. You just give,
right,
which is given beyond measure.
Yeah.
A lot of people keep tabs on the things that they do for people. And I see that you're doing it without thought.
No.
There's thought put into it, but without tabulation, so to speak. So let's talk about that. What are some of the things? Because I've seen some of the comments, and what are some of the things that can someone be somewhat heart-wrenching?
Yes. Basically, it was just brought up about, if I'm doing something for God, why am I showing it, and why am I asking people for things? And I'm like, first of all, I prayed to God on this note. And in the beginning, when I first filmed and went live, that was my first time ever going live with something. This is what God told me to do, and I have to be obedient, And when I was speaking with my aunt about the situation, and I told her that I prayed about the situation, and God told me to allow others to see this, to let them know that it's still hope, and it's still good Samaritans in the world. That you still have people that genuinely care. And I'm one of those type of person. I just had to let them know that don't be mad at me because of the heart that was placed inside of my body. I had no control of that. I was formed inside of my mama's womb. God saw me before I was even took my first breath. So he already knew what it is that he had destined for me. So he gave me everything that I needed to do that. So, I had to let him know, don't be upset with me because this is just who I am.
And so let me ask you, Kanisha, having a mom that you've seen being the second eldest, you've seen a lot of the struggles perhaps that she's gone through, and now you see the metamorphosis that has taken place in terms of her life and how she's trying to bless others. So I have to ask the question, okay, are there times when you get jealous?
I knew you was gonna ask that. Yep.
Are there times when you get jealous, and how do you deal with that?
I get over it because I feel like a lot of people don't have a mother like I do. She helped people. So when somebody does something to her feelings, and I tell her like, well, you shouldn't have. So she be like, I have to just listen to the guy, the words. So I'm like, okay, you're right. But I eventually get over it. But I get jealous every day because of it.
And so, do you strive to be more like your mother, or is there a sense of rebellion that takes place?
Well, I'm a lot like her, but I have a lot of rebellious ways.
Okay.
Yeah, like I don't have a problem with helping people or nothing, but I feel like that if you did something to hurt me, or it's like you don't deserve my help no more. But she different. I hold grudges, and she not like that.
Okay.
So that's my problem. What I have, or what we different at.
Well, I think that as time progresses, as long as you have a good example that's set before you, that'll eventually will change with life and, a sense of seasoning, as we call it. And so let me ask you this. Are there times when you find yourself being like your mother, and because you are different, because we all are uniquely designed, that you say, oh, I'm not going to do that, but then you find yourself being compelled, and you have to laugh and chuckle a little bit and say, you know what? That's what my mother would do.
Yeah. I do it all the time. So I try to, but I know, some people have another side of them, which is my side is mean, but she's not like that. So I was like, okay, well, I know I'm like her. I try to be like her, but I just can't do it the way that she do it with people, because I get irritated fast, and she's not like that.
Okay.
She's very patient, and I'm not.
Wow. Well, it's interesting, because I think that as we get older, to develop a certain level of acquired patience, some people are innately born with it, and others have to acquire it through life and experience. And I think that that's something that I'm acquiring, patience. I'm not going to say that I'm particularly the most patient person, but I'm acquiring a sense of patience, because what I have found out is time is going to pass regardless.
Yes.
And sometimes, because we live in a microwave society of instant gratification, what would have made the difference in just waiting a minute or a day?
Yeah.
That could have changed the course of your life and the lives of others.
Yeah.
So once again, giving beyond measure when you're not keeping score. Are there times when you want to give, but sometimes you have to hold back, or do you just give regardless?
No, sometimes I have to hold back, especially if it's in a situation. Like I've had situations where I just feel like I'm being used, and and I have to pray about those situations, but I will hold back, but eventually I still do it. Because if God still say, okay, Tamika, you got to do this, or he just run it down to me, I say, okay, Lord. But it be times where I don't want to do it, especially like if I've already blessed a certain person and they just right back, want it all over again. And I'll be like, I just did such and such and such, and she right back. I'm not doing this time, but she got to learn. But if it's kids, especially if it's kids involved. Now, if it's no kids involved, then I don't know. But if it's kids involved and have anything to do with them and their well-being, then I give in.
Okay.
I do what it is I need to do for the kids.
Okay. Now I know there's and for the Bible folks out there, I was raised and born in the church, but if I quote, I don't want to misquote anything, but there is a scripture, and there may be several, but there is a scripture that refers to making other people's problems become your burdens.
Yeah.
And therefore you have to be very selective. And those situations that you take on, because they can become overwhelming.
Yes.
And sometimes you will find yourself giving with measure, as opposed to beyond measure. So from last week up until today, just talk about some of the things that you've been doing, because like I said, I've been following you on Facebook and Instagram. So I've been following you, and just tell the people, what is it like? How does your day start off? What do you do?
Well, it's just about the same every day. I get up about 6:15, get the children up, get them ready for school, get them off to school. I come back, I eat breakfast, and I do my daily chores as far as cleaning and everything. And I lay down to about I go lay back down about 10. And I get back up about 11 to get my grandbaby ready for school, to have off to school about 12 o'clock. And then I leave out the door at 12 and drop off. And I just go do some errands, or I go over to my uncle's house, the one that he's not able to come out, and just sit around and talk to him about everything. And we just talk about, the things that's just basically life, the things that we've been through and what we're going through. And he will always tell me, Tamika, no matter what people say, don't let them change you. Absolutely. People gonna talk. I tell you this over and over. Just do what it is you've been doing. So that's basically my day, because I'm self-employed, so I make my own hours.
And so let's talk about the things that you do with respect to being self-employed.
Yes.
Can you expound on, what is it that you actually do? And
okay, well, what I do, I sell hair weave, all different kinds. I sell clothes, shoes, belts, purses, jewelry. What else am I selling? Candy.
Okay.
I'm the candy lady. So
how did you get into that?
I started I've been selling the candy maybe about over 8 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, about 8 years now.
And what is it like being your own? What does that feel like having
power? It feels really good. It feels good.
Absolutely.
Yep, it feels good to be your own boss.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Is there any place that you've not been that you would like to go in terms of your vision?
Yes, my vision. Well, with the feeding of the homeless, God had put this on my heart maybe 9 or 10 years ago, and I kind of put it on the back burner. So when it just came about, I just jumped up and I did it without thinking twice. Got on the internet, ordered what I had to order. But it's a building that sits on Pulaski and Washington, and it's been there abandoned for years. I've been claiming that building for years. I've been saying that it's my building. I'm going to turn this building into a shelter. And it looked like maybe 3 sections in the building. So I said I have one section for the homeless, one for the teenagers with the babies, and one for the women, and just all different types of stuff going on in there, because not only I've learned that it's a lot of homeless teenagers.
Yes, it's the population is growing.
Yes.
Now, what I will tell you, here at IntellectualRadio.com, we have a lot of the people that you need. We have grant writers.
Okay.
That they do phenomenal work. And so I could put you in touch with some of those people as well, because at the end, it's all about networking.
Yes, it is.
And I just want to say that once again, here on IntellectualRadio.com, if you are looking for an opportunity to host your own show, please do not hesitate to call the number 708-223-8953, because once again, somebody wants to hear your perspective, and there's enough room for everybody to tell their story.
Yes.
And I think that it's just a phenomenal thing when you can step outside of yourself and you can be of assistance to other people. I think that so often you can't get caught up in, oh, I'm helping other people and I'm not, getting any residual in return. However, if you live your life like that, you'll find yourself trying to attain the expectations of other people as opposed to placing expectations upon yourself.
Yes.
So let me ask you, Kinessa. I just like saying your name, so I'm just going to say it throughout the show. Okay. So having a mom that is an entrepreneur, has it evoked anything in you in terms of things that you would like to do with your life?
Well, I look around and I'm like, okay, everybody doing the same thing. Everybody's selling glasses or everybody. So it's just like, I haven't found that thing yet, because I don't want to do what everybody else is doing.
Okay.
So it's kind of hard. You have to sit down and you got to think about what is it that attract the audience, or, what is it that everybody likes. But like I said, everybody doing the same thing. So you just got to take time on thinking about what is it that you want to do.
Absolutely. I think well executed, well said. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to go to a musical break. I am Angela Champ here for Side Streets and Intersections here on IntellectualRadio.com.
Perseverance. Endurance. In the cold of the night, he protect us all in the mold of the fight. And that's way before I even tried to roll the dice. Jesus stood by my side like a virtuous wife. The sin left me broke, I couldn't afford to pay the price. He charged it to the Christ. And now I pay attention to the lyrics that I write. I ain't trying to reach the height, I ain't listening to the hype. And I'ma keep the feast and break bread with the righteous. Jesus is the righteous, washed in the blood to save the blood of a bison. We can make it happen, we created in his likeness. We ain't left alone no matter how tough life gets. It can get thick, Jesus got it grasped with his hands like a tight fist. He's how a man's got established. He control it all in his palms like a light switch. This is righteous, this is Christ, this is life. Put your hands in the air for God, come on. Put your hands in the air for God, come on. It doesn't matter what you've been through. It doesn't matter what you've been through. But put your hands in the air for God, come on. Put your hands in the air for God, come on. It doesn't matter what you've been through. It doesn't matter what you've been through. What you've been through. Protocol, we can't fall for the weak. Accept the baptism, pay attention to the priest. Watch us every move, steady to be approved. Be the king of the Jews, bearer of good news.
Welcome back to Side Streets and Intersections here on IntellectualRadio.com. I am Angela Champ, your host. Here in the studio with me is Tamika Collier-Watson, alongside with her second eldest, Kinessa. I like that name, so I'm going to keep saying it, Kinessa. I'm just going to say it again, Kinessa. And today's subject matter is giving beyond measure, because I think that, yes, there is scripture that says that when you give or whatever you do, you should do it in silence. But people don't seem to understand that sometimes when you're giving, what's the difference in what the NAACP does than what you do?
Right.
So is there a difference because you're doing it and they're not doing it? Or what's the difference in what I do versus what another person does? I think that what people don't understand sometimes, that there's enough of a platform for everybody to contribute to the whole. Yeah. And once again, we're from the west side of Chicago, and statistically speaking, we weren't supposed to make it. No. We were supposed to be, by all accounts, nothing. And for whatever it was, we were able to creep up through those crevices. Just get a peak of sunlight, because all it requires is a mustard seed of faith.
That's it.
And here we are today. And I think that the one thing that we must understand is that it's all about networking. Just like I said on Friday night at my venue, just like Vicky and Madeline, they reached back and got me. It was incumbent upon me to reach back and get you. And it's called paying it forward.
Okay.
Because I think that when I look at, where we came from, the idea of us having a future was very grim.
Yeah.
And you compound that with life lessons. And many of us, we faced a lot of adverse things that happen in our life. But the thing is, I think the difference is that we didn't allow that to become who we are. We didn't fulfill that life script, is what they call that. We didn't say, because someone told us we weren't going to be anything, then you know what? Because they said I wasn't going to be anything, I'm not going to become anything. Mm-hmm. I think that became the fuel for us to do what we do today. And I just want to say that whatever I can do to help you catapult your vision, your organization to the next level, do not hesitate. As you know, I always told you, I'm just a phone call away.
Okay.
And it's interesting because now I'm going to tell you something interesting. I made the determination, and I can say this publicly now. I made the determination after listening to you, after listening to, I think I posted on Facebook, one of my friends has just relocated to Germany permanently.
Oh, wow.
Also, we know that our classmate Derek, he's over in China right now.
Yep.
always wanted to coach.
That's my cousin.
Right, I know. Always wanted to, coach football, and now he's doing it at a level that is paramount.
Yep.
And so we weren't supposed to make it. It didn't matter that we may have come from good families, but statistically speaking, we were not supposed to make it just from where we came from. And so I think that, once again, anything that Angela Champ can do here at Sidestreets and Intersections on IntellectualRadio.com, I will do. But getting back to, I made the decision after observing you, after spending time with Vicki and Madeline, after seeing Derek, even talking, I talk often with Cecil, who's down in Atlanta.
Yes, he's one. Yeah.
I made the determination that I will be leaving my job after 18 years and pursuing those things that I believe that are important to me, because the one thing that I learned, that when you work for other people, you're their puppet.
Yep.
And as long as they can pull the strings, you better dance.
Yeah.
And I'm at a point where I'm tired of dancing. My name ain't Bojangles. So getting back to the subject matter at hand, while I'm grateful, I realize that sometimes we place our own sentences upon ourselves.
That's right.
We have societal sentences, institutionalized sentences that we adhere to, and we allow that to guide our life, as opposed to listen to that inner ear, the Creator's ear, that says, go right, but you want to go left. So getting back to the subject matter, once again, going beyond measure. When I invited you to come out and speak, what went through your mind? Because I know
I just really felt honored. I did. Because like I told you, I was up that morning getting ready for church. I had my praise and worship on, and I happened to go to the message, and I saw your message. I'm like, wow. I mean, I was like, I couldn't believe it. And the song was playing, and I just started hollering and shouting out to God. I said, Lord, you finna do it. You don't open up the doors for me. Because speaking, I'm going to just say about statistics as well. I remember in 2001 when I was in treatment, and it was like maybe 50 of us in the room. I was over in Gateway on Independence, and the counselors were speaking to us. And they said, the statistics say that only 3 of y'all are going to make it in this room. And I vowed to myself I was going to be one of those. I did.
Wow.
And I bust my butt. I sure did. I didn't look back.
Wow.
I didn't look back.
It's funny that you say that. I've been in law enforcement for 18 years. And one of the things that I tell the young men when I'm walking them to whatever destination they're going to, I said, how can you move ahead if you're constantly looking back?
Yep.
It's not one of the things when you're looking back to reach and get someone, but you so caught up in the past that you can't even see what's before you.
Yep, that's right.
And so you become stumped by the reality that time is moving forward. And that's the one thing that is constant time. That's the one thing you can't get back, time.
That's right.
But it's also the one thing that if you utilize it in the manner that it should be used in, you can get 70-something years of serving people, just like the famous Mr. Personality, King of Dusties, Mr. Herb Kent. He didn't look back. And now, while I'm sure it did not come with this set of adversities, because mind you, he was 88 at the time.
Yes.
So there was a lot of adversity that he was subject to. But he set the foundation for many, many of us.
Yep.
And once again, we just want to say to the Herb Kent family, rest in peace. Our condolences here at Sidestreets and Intersections on IntellectualRadio.com are with you. And we just want to say thank you. Thank you for his many, many, many years of service. And so when you think about all of it, it's all about service.
Yes.
Being a servant and being of service to other people.
Yes.
And I think it's just an amazing thing that here we are 20-something, 30-something years into the future. And we are here sitting today and saying, we're trying to give back.
Yep.
And so I just want to say that the more you give and the more that your vision becomes a reality where it creates balance, the more you're going to have people attack you.
Yeah.
You're going to have those attacks because those are distractions. And it's interesting that when people are caught up in their own realities and they're not compelled to do anything because they become so complacent that they too want you to become complacent.
Yes.
But they don't understand that there are nights, and I'm sure that you can concur with what I'm about to say. There are nights when I can't sleep because I'm thinking about what's to come.
Yep.
And I know that as long as I stay focused, and the main thing is make sure that good people, you surround yourself with good people.
Yes.
Because if you become a multimillionaire, a person that's around you should not be afraid and or intimidated by that. They should use that and say, you know what, whatever she did, I want to do.
Yes.
Matter of fact, I'm going to do it better.
Mm-hmm.
So just tell us about some of the things that you see yourself doing in the near future, and talk about the organization, because we talked about it a little bit, but talk about your organization that you have and the name so that people know when they see you that it's just not Tamika, but we want to associate the name with the organization that you have.
Well, I named it Loving Me Ministries. As again, I say that because at one point I didn't love myself because of the bad choices I made and how I was living. So when I learned to love myself, I was able to love others and to allow God to love me.
Wow.
And it was a must. It was a must. And it's a daily thing, you know. I tell people when I give my testimony, and I let people know that it was not easy. It was hard. It was a struggle, and sometimes still is. It be times I'll be like, oh wow, can I just lay in the bed today? Well, do I have to do this today? Lord, why I gotta do this? You know, when he tell me to do something, okay, Lord, I'm gonna do it. But you know, it be times I feel like that. I'm not perfect. You know, I'm still human. I still go through my emotions and everything, but at the end of the day, I know if God be for me, who could be against me?
Absolutely.
And I put my trust in him and him only. So I know if I give, I know it's going to be given back, which I don't worry about it because God is a provider. He's going to provide all my needs, also my wants.
Absolutely.
He will.
Absolutely.
You know, so I just trust him. That's all I do. Every day I just trust my finances. I trust my life, my husband, my children, my family. I trust God with it all.
And it's interesting. Let's talk just a sidebar for a moment. When you left here last week, something catastrophic happened, and I think that you kind of recorded that.
Mm-hmm.
Not to take away from what we're talking about, but just so that people understand that it's a struggle. Now, last week there was a shooting or something that took place, right?
Yes.
If I'm not correct.
Yes,
when you left here.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, we had just got off the expressway going down Cicero, and I think we was like almost past Lake, and I promise you it was over 30 to 40 police cars.
Wow.
Flying past. And I was like, my heart was beating so fast because I have so much compassion till it's scary because stuff like that, it bothers me. It hurts me when I see stuff happen to people and children, and I was like, oh my God, what's going on, Lord? And get down there on Cicero and Augusta, it was a shooting.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so the reason I asked that you mentioned that is because, once again, I want to highlight the fact that people don't know where you're going or what you have to go through in order to get here.
Mm-hmm.
All they see is the material aspect of it, but they don't know that maybe you come in through an area where there's warfare going on. Maybe, you know, you may be going through whatever. And we know that gun violence has affected you on a personal note.
Yes.
And that even despite all that, you continue to move forward.
Yes.
Because all you can do is put one foot before the other. So, Kanessa, I just love that name. I think I'm gonna name myself Kanessa. So I understand that you are still trying to find out, you know, what your niche is in life. Is there anything that at this point, and not to necessarily put you on the spot, but when you get into your quiet space, is there anything that you say, I want the world to know? Because now, the reason I'm saying this is because we have to speak and we have to breathe things. Because there may be somebody listening or somebody viewing the show that can help you. So what I'm trying to do is create the mindset with young people that you have to speak it into existence.
Right.
You have to speak it into existence. And sometimes we have to get away from our parents and let other people help speak it for us, because it's, Mom,
Mhm.
Mom, I hear that. Mom, I hear that.
Mhm.
Dad, I hear that. But when you have someone that's speaking the same thing, then maybe it's a sense of validity to that. So what do you think? What are you passionate about?
I'm passionate about a lot of stuff, but every day I just tell myself that I'm young still. I still got a lot of time to think about what I'm gonna do. So don't just put my focus on one thing and then it don't work out, and then I'm mad about that. So it's just like every day I just sit and I just like, okay, what is it that I want to do? So when I get on Facebook, I be like, dang, everybody doing the same thing. Everybody cutting shirts or selling glasses or doing this. So I really don't have an idea what I want to do now. But I tell myself every day that I'm young. I still got time, you know?
Now, one thing I will say is that with respect to age differences,
Mm-hmm.
let this be an example
Mhm.
or words of encouragement is that while we have time, time doesn't necessarily particularly wait for us.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes we think that we have forever because we're young. And we realize that if I had to just, because sometimes there's that burning.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're around an entrepreneur, you can't help but have something rub off on you.
Mm-hmm.
I know this for a fact.
She
Yeah.
do everything, so I don't know what is it to do.
Absolutely,
To
absolutely.
bring on board with me.
Absolutely. And I think that I just want to say that once again to all our listeners out there, iHeart Radio listeners, Side Streets and Intersections, IntellectualRadio.com, we just want to say that we're going to be doing some amazing things. And I just have to say, I say it all the time, but I never get tired of saying it because I am grateful. And I have to thank Mr. Earl Winfrey for seeing something in me. That's the other Winfrey. He's the producer right there just doing a show. And he saw something in me. And each time I do this show, I have to give him props because there's enough of me that I can give other people their due.
Yeah.
And so I think that oftentimes when we get to a place where we think that it's about us, we start to become very arrogant
Yeah.
and we lose touch with our realities. And so my thing is to build relationships and not have them destroyed. And I will honestly say that um, I got to be careful about that. No ums. However, so you'll tell me about that off. However, we are coming upon the holiday season. And this is usually a time when people become more giving than they were perhaps during the rest of the year. Have you decided to do something for the upcoming holidays, or is it just, I understand it's a daily thing that you're doing, but are you doing something extra for the holidays, or would you like to do something extra for the holidays in terms of giving or a dinner or something like that?
Well, basically, I mean, this is a year-round thing for me. It's just not a certain thing that I do when I give. I have a lot of children and families that I support during the holidays. I just adopt children, adopt families. God always send people my way who He want me to help, and I could not even know the person, and I do it.
Absolutely.
Whether it be buying them coats or buying them food or buying the children toys so they can wake up in the morning with a smile on their face. One year I adopted a family of kids, and the mother was in the hospital. The grandmother was watching them. And I was at the school, selling my candy, and they didn't have any coats. And I said, "Where your coat at?" "We don't have a coat." So I said, "Give your mama my number." I gave her a number, and because I know that I don't want to step on nobody's toes. So when the mother called me, I asked her, "Is it okay that I buy your children some coats? I like helping people. It's okay with you?" She said, "Okay." So I went and bought them coats and stuff, and come to find out they were living in an abandoned building,
Wow.
real life abandoned building.
Wow.
When I took them food and stuff over to their house, and I went into the hallway and it was holes going up the step, and I was telling my husband, I said, "Oh my God." I mean, I just instantly started crying. And when I got up there and I couldn't believe the living conditions, and I was like, "Oh Jesus, Lord have mercy." So I brought them bags of food, and then I ended up coming back, bringing a lot of toys and stuff for him. And the little boy got up and he said, I said, "This from your mother?" "No, it's not, Candy Lady. You bought this." I said, "No, I didn't." He said, "Ain't no Santa Claus. Santa Claus ain't never gave me nothing." And that just tore my heart up.
Wow.
It did. It really did.
I think that it's one of those things where we still have to give kids that sense of hope.
Yes.
And I think that sometimes we give them too much of the wrong thing and not enough of the things that they really need.
Yes.
And I think that in the age of technology, while it's okay to know how to work a laptop and how to surf the web, but we're still not giving them that one thing that they need, and how to be creative, and even how to survive on little or nothing and still be okay with that. And so I just want to say I think it's phenomenal what you're doing.
Yes.
And I just felt that it was important to bring you back again for a part 2, because I think that so often when you're in the position where you're giving without measure, that sometimes it's okay for someone to come in your life and say, hey, Tamika, good job, keep it up.
Yes, yes.
You
It
see?
is important. It is, because, I sit back, I said, Lord, I'm doing all this for you, but it just seemed like people just attack me and just want stuff all the time, want, and it's never okay. Well, girl, you're doing a good job, until I post something that I've been hurt, and then that'll go to the comments. You doing a good job, God gonna bless you, and the inboxes. Yesterday, my uncle brought me a box of what is it? Edible arrangements.
Okay.
Box of chocolate covered strawberries, and I was like, "What's this for?" He was like, "It's for you."
Wow.
And I was like, "Oh, you thinking about me? As much as you do for people, yeah, I'm thinking about you."
And
that made me feel good, because it's just a little thing.
Absolutely.
Don't look at me as, oh, I know Tamika, give it to me. Oh, I know Tamika, bail me out. Just, I need some time too.
Yes. And it was important. I think that like I said, several months back, I came to the producer and I said, hey, I want to do this function for the people. And we had some conversation, and to some degree, I had kind of dismissed it, but it was still burning in the back of my mind that I needed to do this. And so I told him, I said, I'm going to do it. And it didn't matter if no one showed up, as long as I was there and my intent was what it was. But I can honestly say we had a phenomenal time. And even though were not able to make this event, there will be many other events.
Yes.
Because I want you to understand that there's so many of us. We just need to bond together.
Yes.
And help each other. What I do, I don't look for anything in return, just human to human respect. Because it's interesting how we can live our lives hoping and wishing and wanting and desire, and all we have to do is just step out.
Yeah.
Step out.
Yes.
And there's going to be failure. Failure is part of the process. Failure doesn't mean that you failed. Failure means that you're growing.
Yes.
And that you can't allow the haters to overwhelm you, because it can become overwhelming.
Yes. Yeah.
And you have to simply say, thank you. You're putting so much energy. I think I saw a post on Facebook. I don't know if you saw that post too. Something about if your haters are thinking about you, or if they're really hating you, that means that they're giving too much time and too much energy to you.
Right.
But that's a good thing.
Yes.
It can be a bad thing if you allow it to process and it becomes, and you internalize it.
Yes.
But if you take that and say, I'm glad you're thinking about me.
Yep.
And now that gives me the energy to do even more.
Yep.
Doesn't mean that you don't understand the process of not being selective. So interesting enough, prior to the event on Friday, it almost didn't happen. So let me tell you, my daughter was involved in a car accident. My car is total now.
Wow.
So the event almost did not happen on Friday, because I could have got a call that was very, very different.
Yes.
So the car is totaled. I literally had to get up the following day and walk for about 7 miles each way to take care of business. But we do what we must do.
Yep.
And we don't cry about it. There is a pair of gym shoes I have, and I've had those gym shoes for about 3 years, because those gym shoes have carried me many, many miles. And so once again, all people see is the end result. They don't know the sweat and tears.
Mm-mm.
They don't know the denying of self. They don't know that sometimes even low self-esteem sets in, because that's part of the process.
Yeah.
But you have to say, I refuse to give up, and I won't give up.
Yep.
And so once again, I just want to say thank you. We're going to go to a quick musical break. We're going to come back and do the last part of Giving Beyond Measure. I am Angela Champ, your host for Side Streets and Intersections here on IntellectualRadio.com.
Endurance. In the cold of the night, he protect us all in the mold of the fight. And that's way before I even tried to roll the dice. Jesus stood by my side like a virtuous wife. The sin left me broke, I couldn't afford to pay the price. He charged it to the Christ. And now I pay attention to the lyrics that I write. I ain't trying to reach the height, I ain't listening to the hype. And I'ma keep the feast and break bread with the righteous. Jesus is the righteous, washed in the blood to save the blood of a bison. We can make it happen, we created in his likeness. We ain't left alone no matter how tough life gets. It can get thick, Jesus got it grasped in his hands like his tight fist. He's how man's got established. He control it all in his palms like a light switch. This is righteous, this is Christ, this is life. Put your hands in the air for God, come on. Put your hands in the air for God, come on. It doesn't matter what you've been through. It doesn't matter what you've been through. But put your hands in the air for God, come on. Put your hands in the air for God, come on. It doesn't matter what you've been through. It doesn't matter what you've been through. What you've been through. This is protocol, we can't fall for the weak. Accept the baptism, pay attention to the priest. Watch us every move, steady to be approved. He the king of the Jews, the bearer of good news. Good news, Jesus Christ, he come with the good food. A man can't live off bread alone. We gotta get it together before the trumpet's blown. I had passion for the truth, I read the scriptures wrong. And it was told to the children of the seeds grown. We got zeal for the Father, but it's in the wrong way. Had this crime in the streets turned into a court case. About face, this is about faith. This is about faith.
Welcome to the last portion of Giving Beyond Measure here on Side Streets and Intersections here on IntellectualRadio.com. Once again, I just want to say if you're looking for an opportunity to host your own show here on IntellectualRadio.com, please do not hesitate to call 708-223-8953. Once again, we are an iHeart radio station, so we are heard throughout the country. And you need to understand that if you are not being fed, it's because you're hungry. And you need to tune in to Side Streets and Intersections here on IntellectualRadio.com. Before we go, any final thoughts of what you're doing, some things that may be coming up that you want our listeners and viewers to chime in on and or hear?
Well, I'm just continue on doing what I'm doing every week, and as I said before, that I will accept any donations as far as used coats and shoes and clothing, because I had a lot of stuff that people had brought me in. They went through it yesterday like it was nothing. My truck was filled with coats and clothes, one to nothing. And it was like you, and I was upset because I didn't have certain sizes of shoes to fit to certain people that need. They like, you got any 11s? I'm like, no, I'm sorry, So they kind of be hurt me when I don't have enough or what they need.
Absolutely.
So because it's about what you need, and that's what I want to do, give people what they need.
So let's do this. Let's partner up.
Okay.
And do some things. And make some things happen for people.
Okay.
So anything that I can do within my will, let's make that happen. And I think that it'll be beneficial for everybody. And I'm doing it because it is about giving. And I don't expect anything in return other than to see other people or smile on other people's faces. And I just want to say that until next week, I don't know who my guest is going to be next week, but I'm sure it's going to be somebody phenomenal. As always, here on Side Streets and Intersections here on IntellectualRadio.com. Once again, we are approaching the holiday season. And as we know, we talked about the statistics that here in Chicago alone, over 800,000 people, and the numbers may be a little bit more, that are homeless, that are going without food, and they need services. And sometimes many of the services have been cut because the politicians want to pad their pockets. Yep. And so when people like Tamika and her daughter and we take it upon ourselves we're not asking, we're doing this on our own because we've been in a position to do so. So once again, I just want to say thank you for all of my listeners all of those who have chimed in on this evening for the subject matter, Giving Beyond Measure. And once again, until next week, I am Angela Champ, your host, here for Sidestreets and Intersections, here on IntellectualRadio.com. Thanking my guest, Tamika, and her second eldest, Kenesha. Knessa, that has a ring to it. I see a book deal or something coming out. Until next week.
In the cold of the night, he protect us all in the mold of the fight. And that's way before I even tried to roll the dice. Jesus stood by my side like a virtuous wife. This man left me broke, I couldn't afford to pay the price. He charged it to the Christ. And now I pay attention to the lyrics that I write. I ain't trying to reach the height, I ain't listening to the hype. And I'ma keep the feast and break bread with the righteous. Jesus is the righteous, washed in the blood to save the blood of a bison. We can make it happen, we created in his likeness. We ain't left alone no matter how tough life gets. It can get big, Jesus got it grasped in his hands like a tight fist. These how man's got established. He control it all in his palms like a light switch. This is righteous, this is Christ, this is life. Put your hands in the air for God, come on. Put your hands in the air for God, come on. It doesn't matter what you've been through. It doesn't matter what you've been through. But put your hands in the air for God, come on. Put your hands in the air for God, come on.